You know what? First of all, I was very pleased, surprised a little bit about what kind of condition our guys showed back up in. Uh, was very proud of them from that standpoint. Uh, because you really didn't know. I mean, you're talking about the period of 3 or 4 months where these young men have been so used to training 4 and 5, 6 days a week. So that was very pleasing to see what kind of shape they showed back up in. A lot of them looked really, really good from that standpoint. And then, we've been meeting with Zoom, which typically, I'd have been on the road recruiting from April till the end of May, and then you got camps the first 2 weeks of June. Uh, so I thought it's worked out really well because we were doing all the Zoom meetings with all the things that the NCAA allowed us to do over the course of that time. So we were talking, scheme and just being able to come back and introduce the from day one with the walkthroughs that we were able to have. I thought our guys have retained it. I think we're so much farther along than where we were a year ago. Yesterday, I saw absolutely the most improvement that I've seen, and saw a lot of things that were very exciting from a lot of different people.
Just from a general perspective, I guess how much have you been paying attention to what's currently going on? I guess how do you kind of prepare guys for? You obviously want to prepare for a game, but you don't know if there's a game kind of coming in the distance, so to speak.
Well, I think for me personally, I try to block a lot of that stuff out. I'm not saying I stick my head in the sand, obviously, because I'm in this profession. You're aware of the current landscape. I think, I really have tried to just keep the main thing, and just focus on what I can control, what our players can control, and that is just, pouring into those guys each and every day, first of all, making sure that we're staying safe, and then getting into the scheme and trying to detail a lot of things that's what's been the greatest part about it. If you want to look for a positive in a negative situation, is just being able to spend so much time with each and every player, being able to detail, techniques, being able to detail coverages and fronts and pressures and things like that you're not always able to do. Like I said, you're juggling a lot of different things, and when you can sit there and you can recruit from your desk, and you can have meetings from your desk, whether it's home or in my office, I really believe that there's been a lot of good things come from this, from that standpoint. And I think our guys have a much better understanding of what we're trying to do defensively.
Go to Ronald Clark, KCBD.
But you talked about it a little bit there. Obviously, there's a lot out of everyone's control at this point, but across the board, we've seen a lot of coaches take different stances as well as players. At this point, what do you feel like your role is amongst this coaching staff and being there for the kids and them standing up for what they believe in at this point?
Yeah, I mean, again, ultimately for me, it's just we're leaning obviously heavily on the what the people in the medical field are saying. Keep our players safe. Be a leader in times of, as our country is facing adversity. We've never seen anything like this, at least in my lifetime. So obviously these young men have never experienced anything like this. So I think just leadership, just making sure, number one, that we create an environment that we're safe, that we're being smart about the whole deal, but also at the same time continuing to move forward. Because up until this point, everything else is completely out of our control, and they were saying that, hey, we're going to play, so you have to prepare. So I think just the consistency of every day showing up to work, not worrying about things that we can't control. It's the same thing that happens in a football game. There's a lot of calls and things that don't go your way, and you can't control those things, so you just got to keep playing the next play. And that's kind of the attitude that we've all taken along with our players. And man, it's been exciting. Our kids have showed up every day with a great attitude, wanting to learn and get better and improve, and it's exciting to see.
We'll go to John Sokoloff.
Hey, Coach, how's it going? You kind of talked about it a little bit there, but just what is like the sense of like kind of your locker room right now? How desperate are your guys like to have the season get started, because of all these different rumors circulating around Twitter? I'm sure they're probably confused. Like, so how desperate do you think they are to play this year?
I mean, I don't know. I think our kids have just been preparing. I've seen a maturity and a growth in our football team that's just really been very encouraging. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, they show up every day, and it's such a great tool for learning. And our kids, they don't let their highs get too high or their lows get too low. They understand. They know what's going on. I think it begins with leadership, and Coach Wells has been so transparent with our players from day one. We went back in all the way to March 13th or whatever that day was that we were getting ready to scrimmage, and we go on spring break. We come back from that and we hit the ground running on Sunday night after spring break. We had a team meeting. We had staff meeting. We got on Zoom. I'd never heard of Zoom. And we started meeting. We started recruiting. We started preparing. We got after 4 game plans. I'm telling you, we have not sat here. All I know is the safety of my own family, the safety of my players, and that's really the only concern I have with it. Obviously, I understand that it's been the pandemic has taken its toll on our country, and I'm not going to say again, we haven't just stuck our head in the sand with that, but we have tried to stay focused on what can we control, and all we can control is our preparation. We have spent so much time. You know what? I game planned our first 4 opponents. I mean, now all that might have been for naught, but if we would have played, now we're prepared. So I think it's a lesson that all of us can learn from, is that, yeah, man, we sat there, we spent a lot of time preparing for our first 4 opponents. We spent a lot of time doing a lot of different things that, you know what? It just didn't work out that way. I can't control that. So now let's just play the next play. What's it going to be? We're just sitting here. We're not worrying about tomorrow. We just got done meeting, and all we did was just kept teaching and reteaching and correcting. And kids are sitting there. They're learning. They're asking questions. And obviously they are excited. That's what they do. That's what they came to Texas Tech for, is to play the game of football, obviously. They're excited, man. They want to play the game, but they're also understand that the most important thing is not only the safety of themselves, but it's the people around them, parents and grandparents and things like that. So we're just taking it one day at a time, and we'll continue to see how it all plays out.
Go to Brendan Solis and then Don Williams.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Going towards Braden Boyer Randall. I know you only had a couple of practices, but how's he kind of look off the no contact and stuff like that?
Obviously that just wearing a helmet, when you look out there and you see a 6'3", 240-pound linebacker who moves like Jordan Brooks, it's pretty exciting. He's very gifted athletically. We knew that when we recruited him to come here. He's adapting to a new system. And so far, he is progressing really, really nicely. I can't wait to see him get the pads on. I do know this. He's going to be able to be a guy that's going to be able to impact the quarterback, and he's extremely talented from a movement standpoint, and a size and athleticism. It's very impressive to watch him. I'm excited to where he is at this particular point.
All right, we'll go to Don.
Hey, Coach, what would you say the potential strengths of this defense are, and flip side of that is what are 1 or 2 things that you're emphasizing that you have to do better this year?
Well, I think that the biggest thing that I see after yesterday's practice, we lost 3 really good players in Broderick and Jordan up front, and then obviously, just went blank. What's our name? Doug Coleman. Okay. I thought we lost 3 really good players, and I told our team that, or our unit that. What is exciting to me is the entire group. I love this football team. I'm just telling you, I love them because we're probably more of a unit Everyone's role is a little bit more clearly defined. I don't know, Don, if I'm at the point where I can say, hey, this team or this group's going to be a strength. Obviously, we have to improve in the back end, okay, which I think you're going to see tremendous improvement there. We've moved some people around and just doing some experimenting with guys, and really liked what I saw yesterday. Obviously, we've added some people in the back end, a grad transfer and two junior college DBs that are going to make a tremendous impact, I think, as well. So I really like the way the linebacking core looks right now. Is definitely could be a strength of our football team again. And up front, we just I don't know, we're athletic. I like our athleticism at everywhere. I really do. We look faster. We're explosive, and I'm excited. I really believe that we have to improve in the secondary in this league. You have to, and if we do that, I really look for some really good things from this group.
What does Rico need to do to maximize his potential? And kind of as a second question to that, is there anybody in the defense that you're doing extra film study or game planning with this year the way you did with Jordan last year?
Yeah, I mean, Don, that's what's been so, I guess, trying to, take a negative and find a positive. That's all we've done since March. I mean, that's all we have done is meet and film study and just grasp a better understanding. But back to your original question with like Rico, I think he's already done the first thing. He's changed his body. He's leaned out. He looks more explosive. Because the thing that, a lot of Rico's strengths were not necessarily Jordan's strengths. So the one thing that I challenged and Coach Scholes challenged Rico with, is to get in the best physical condition that you can possibly get into. Because let me tell you, mentally, him at linebacker, he is as good as I've ever coached at being and understanding the game. He has an incredible football IQ. So that's exciting. That allows us to make sure that, man, we're getting the communication made consistently. We're getting our guys, in the right front, the right coverage, the right, bringing the pressure from the right spot. That's what's got me excited. So he's going to take a step. I think you're going to be very impressed with Rico Jeffers' performance. And he could definitely have a breakout year for him. Up to this point, I think he's just been kind of an effort guy. He just kind of played the game hard. Now, if we can get him continue to stay in top physical condition, you couple that with his football IQ, now I think you're going to see a more complete player.
Go to Matt Claire and back to Don to wrap us up.
Hey, Coach, Mitch and family. I hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for joining us today. Jordan's name's come up plenty of times, so people here probably wrote the stories or definitely read them, but we all know about the draft. But how has that really translated after 1 year? How's that translated to the recruiting approach that you mentioned? How much does that help to have a defender or a linebacker go in the first round for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've said this since the day I've gotten here. I mean, you think of Texas Tech football, you think of, man, explosive wide receivers. You think of quarterbacks. I mean, high-scoring offenses. I mean, and again, I'm talking about modern-day football here. The last 15 or 20 years, and the one thing that I've said it since the day I've gotten here, and I won't back down from it. We have to be able to play championship-level defense for us to take this program to where we want to go. Obviously, our goal is to be champions, okay? And we're never going to shy away from that. To do that, you have to play championship-level defense. Anytime that you can have a kid sign a free agent contract, one in the 5th round, one in the 1st round, now all of a sudden we have something, to build upon and just say, guys, look, we can help you develop into and help you reach all your goals and dreams and aspirations right here at Texas Tech on the defensive side of the ball. Man, we're going to play an aggressive attacking style, okay, to where if I'm a defensive back, man, I'm going to get opportunities to have look like Doug Coleman. He had, 3 career interceptions going into his senior year and could have had 11 easily in one season. So I think it is definitely something to build upon, but it's something you just, like exactly what I just said. You build upon it. You don't just keep looking back. You keep looking forward. I think just it has put us in the conversation with some guys that we probably a year ago may not have had a chance to get, okay, in recruiting. We've landed a couple of those guys. Obviously, I can't refer to those guys by name, but we're excited about where we're headed and defensively. I think people, when they see us take the field at whatever point it is, I told our guys, I don't care if it's tomorrow, I don't care if it's a week from now, I don't care if it's whatever. Whenever they tell us to take the field, I think people are going to see our defense and go, they don't look the same. I mean, there's wow. I mean, and all I'm trying to do is instill a mindset into these guys that we are going to play an attacking, aggressive style. And I'm not just talking about, that's not just blitz all the time. I said, just by the way you get in your stance, I want people to go, gah. I mean, and I'm telling you, these guys have bought into it. Man, they're excited. And I'm proud to be their coach, and I cannot wait till they take the field.
I'll go to David Collier since I missed him a little bit earlier.
Hey, Coach, can you go back to the defensive backfield? Yesterday, Zach mentioned Eric Monroe basically stepping right in, and like he's one of the guys that have been here for a while. What he's added in these first few practices, and what do you expect from him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's coming from LSU, so he brings a swagger and a confidence, which is what we need, in the back end. I mean, Zach is looking great. He has positioned himself to have a great senior year. Guys, there's a lot of guys, I mean, that I'm extremely proud of. I mean, from, Adrian Fry's had a first great couple of weeks of all the walkthroughs and OTAs and all these things. I mean, DeMarcus Fields, Zach McPherson, Eric's still trying to learn the system. I mean, Tommy Leggett, you got Adam Beck, Alex Hogan. I think, I'll tell you, another guy, man, that is just absolutely looking unbelievable, Jamarcus Ingram. I mean, so our depth in the back end, it is so much deeper than where we were a year ago. We're so much more, I'm just going to tell you, I mean, you're going to see a secondary. I mean, I'll put it out there. You're going to see a secondary that's going to have a linebacker mentality. I mean, we're aggressive. I mean, we're getting after people, and we're trying to create a mentality and a mindset. Derek and I, we're back together again after a long time, and it's like we've never been apart. I mean, we told our DBs a while ago, I said, shoot, it's like Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy in 48 hours, man. I mean, we are getting after it. We're intense. We're passionate with these guys, man. We're trying to instill a confidence in them. And a swagger, and I think that's what Eric Monroe brings. Okay, he's still trying to learn the system, but he's definitely going to be an impact player for us. I made a comment to somebody the other day. I said that he's a DB with a Jordan Brooks type mentality.
Finish with Don real quick.
Hey, Coach, staying on the secondary for a minute, Matt Wells mentioned a couple of days ago, said that Eric Monroe and Cam White were guys that y'all were looking at the boundary safety spot that Coleman played. I was curious, who do you consider kind of the options at that field side safety position?
Yeah, Don, that's a critical position for us, because 70% of all the plays in the Big 12, are going to occur. All the plays are made are going to be tackles out in space. That's a critical position. So I'm trying to get more athletic, not only there, but at that spur position, as well as the cover safety position. I'll be honest with you, I can't just say, hey, here's who it is right now. Right now, I can tell you who I've looked at over the last couple of days. I've got Zach McPherson at nickel, and I've got DeMarcus Fields at cover safety right now. That looked extremely good. I mean, you're talking about two guys that are athletic, can move, can run, can blitz, can play in space. So I'm excited, really excited what I've seen from those guys. I've got Xavier Martin, okay, over there at cover safety as well. I've worked Adrian Taylor at cover safety. I always have the option. At one point, I had Eric Monroe at cover safety. So, and if I had Eric Monroe at cover safety, Zach McPherson at corner, and Fields at nickel. So, again, the one thing, I don't know how it's all going to shake out, Don, because we haven't had pads on. But I will tell you this, that's going to be the biggest difference in our football team. We're going to have athleticism and speed to that field. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference you see. And when you see us play is go, wow. I mean, that looks a little bit different.
So when Zach is not at corner,
Yeah.
the ones at corner would be Adrian and
Yeah.
Alex Hogan, or who?
Yeah, you got Hogan, I mean, again, here's what Don, what we said. We don't call it a depth chart. We're calling it a rep chart. And you got to earn your reps. So right now, man, we got these guys, we got them competing, and you got Alex Hogan, Adrian Fry, you got Jamarcus Ingram, and then another guy that's going to be an incredible player for us, I don't know when, but is the freshman Nate Floyd. So we've got, and then Cam Watts, the young man out of NEO in Oklahoma. I mean, he's a young man, he's a 4.35 40 guy. He can play nickel, he can play corner. So that's where I see in my mind is it's the depth and the athleticism that we didn't really necessarily seem to have a year ago.
Oh, it's been good. We've been able to get through three, I think, really kind of fast, spirited practices. Really probably ahead in some ways with kind of the mental side for our guys because of all the kind of meetings we've been able to have with our kind of guys coming out of spring with the limitations we had from the summer or in the spring ending where we were able to Zoom with guys and start actually doing position meetings. We've had probably a lot more meetings, and I'll say in person because on Zoom you actually get to see the guy and talk to him as opposed to not being able to do that. And then with the young guys over the summer, we were able to get a head start on those guys because on offense we've got, quite a few freshman players and they've kind of put themselves in a position that they're not making the mental errors that kind of sometimes keeps you from wanting to play them or get them up in the top of the depth chart. So we're getting a lot. All four of those wideouts have been taking reps from in the 1s, 2s, and 3s on a consistent basis because I know what they're doing and they're talented. Caleb Rogers is very advanced for a freshman offensive lineman. He's been able to rep all the way up with the 2s in some cases in some drills in that way. John Holcomb has probably been a little bit more of a surprise coming from a smaller school, being able to kind of know what he's doing and look like he should be here and probably more advanced than a lot of freshman tight ends I've dealt with before. And so those have been really good. Taj Brooks looks like he's a veteran just with all the football he's played. So it's been really, really positive that way with the young guys. But overall, we've had a lot less mental errors and that type of stuff through the first 3 days. And we've had a lot of reps. Coaches really set it up so we've been able to get a lot of reps in for guys to try to catch up a little bit from what we missed out on in the spring.
And Allen, like a guy that, didn't really play much last year and the year before that, do you kind of sense that he's playing a little more with like a chip on his shoulder? I know it's only been a couple of days at practice, but what have you kind of seen from him? Does he kind of have an extra chip and how's he looking?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say it's a chip. He just looks like a veteran, and I know he's only considered a redshirt sophomore, and he has missed a lot of game time in that way, but he's really he's gotten a lot of practice time in with all the. Him graduating early and coming in, doing spring that year, getting the fall stuff he got in until he was injured, and then from the time I got here till really the Arizona game, he'd been repping and getting a lot of reps, so he's gotten probably a lot of practice in for a guy who hasn't played a lot, and good practice stuff too, not just scout team work. When he's been healthy, he's been repping pretty much probably with the one offense almost completely, other maybe the first spring. So you see kind of just his confidence and then the second year being in our offense, his checks, getting everybody on the same page, being able to kind of do all the signaling and all the communication without it being a big production where you kind of give stuff away. But now he's been really, really good, and actually, he's a guy that, and he's not reckless with the football, but I like him in practice to be a little bit more aggressive in practice to kind of figure out what you can and can't do, because he does a great job of protecting the ball in games. And that he's been really, really good in practice with being aggressive but not getting kind of over that edge, kind of being right on that line. So it's been really, really positive that way. And he's thicker and he's bigger, and you can see he's stronger because there's some things that he's able to do with the football now that he couldn't do before.
Go to Ronald Clark.
Hey, Coach, with everything sort of going on, obviously a lot, out of you guys' control, at this point with, the students making their voices being heard using social media and things like that, what is sort of your role? What do you play in all this while this is, sort of going on?
I'm a little bit of, I kind of keep my head down and just focus on football with everything and try to give our kids all the support they need or they want as far as want to talk about it in there, ask questions. I tell them exactly what I know or what I think or where we're kind of at on everything. But I don't know much. I just kind of support them in how they're feeling about things, but also coaching them. I'm just focused on the football side of it, and that way of getting them prepared for hopefully a season, so we can go out and play in that way, and it gives them a chance to kind of get away. Playing football I think is kind of a good escape for our kids to they're kind of excited about that because all the stuff it's kind of went on since our last practice in the spring. There's been a lot of things that went on that aren't football or outside your control, and the things you can control is football and practice and those types of things. So really it's been just being there and supporting them in whatever way I can.
Go to David Collier.
Hey, Coach, I've got a couple football questions for you, at least one. But first, to follow up on that, when was the last time you didn't coach college football? And to follow up off of that, could you imagine a fall without football?
No, it was, I guess, 93, so 1993, way back then. But no, I was coaching high school football and that, but and Coach Wells, we joked around today because it was his birthday today. I think he's 72 now, but he was laughing about how long it's been that he wasn't in two-a-days or in fall camp when his birthday hit, and all that. So it goes all the way back. I think he said it is his freshman year in high school is the last time he wasn't in kind of two-a-days or fall camp when his birthday hit. But no, he just kind of used to the time here. But I couldn't have imagined going through a spring without going out spring recruiting. And everything, or a summer, or not getting to do spring football, or not getting, like in the summer, of getting to do things. So, I always look at it as whatever parameters they give us, we're going to make it work. We adjust. That's what you do as people, is what you do as coaches. You kind of, whatever they deal with, whatever the hand you get dealt, you play it to the best of your ability, and we kind of go on that way. So, no, I enjoy coaching football, and I hope I get to do it a lot here real soon.
All right, to the football questions. How has Seth Collins looked back healthy and finally getting a chance to maybe really show what he can possibly do with this offense? He's
been really getting to see him over the summer. When he got back, he was back in California, back on the West Coast with family, and then when he came back, he looked like a different guy. You could just see the amount of time he'd been able to spend in the weight room. He was able to find some gyms to work out in and just kind of starting to get that size back and everything. He looked like a different individual, and he's kind of let his hair grow out a little bit too, so he looks a little different that way too. But it was kind of stood out the most is just watching him run at our stuff he'd been doing with Coach Scholes. But then we had one of the nights we did a little peace walk over on the east side of town. He was there, and he was walking kind of off to the side close to Coach Filani, and you were kind of watching from behind, and you're like, he's actually a little bit taller than Joel, and shoulder width wise, he's similar. And Joel was a big wideout when he played, and it was like, gosh, he just looks so much different size-wise and that. And then, I mean, through practice so far, I mean, he can stick his foot in the ground. He's got quickness. And, I mean, he hasn't played a lot of football for us, but you can tell he's paid attention. He's got football sense because signals and knowing the plays and doing all that stuff. And we had a couple yesterday that were a little level 2 and level 3 with Allen out there that Allen checked to and kind of gave him some signals, and he did it exactly the way you draw it up and did a nice job, made some tough catches in space, and then stuck his foot in the ground and got vertical. So it's kind of exciting to have it's a veteran guy. It's like almost getting a grad transfer that knows what's going on. So it's been really, really positive.
Go to Brandon Solis and then Don Wales.
Hey, Coach, a couple of questions from me. The first one being your tight ends. You get Simon Gonzalez back after the time that he kind of missed there. And then you mentioned some earlier, just how are they kind of progressing as a group, and what does Travis Kuntz really have to do to take over now that Dante gone?
Well, Kuntz is unbelievably a change from a year ago. I mean, last year when we got into camp, I mean, that was kind of his first time of running through the offense and doing stuff. And you watch him now and you just watch the footwork. And he's right now rolling between 255 and 260 pounds. So, I mean, he's a big individual. And he's running better now than he did last year this time. Looks really like a guy that can be a dominant player for us in a couple areas. In the run game, can probably really help us and expand our run game over what we had last year. But also in the passing game, it'll be hard to – I mean, DT made so many tough contested catches for us last year, and that's kind of the challenge to Kuntz, is to be that guy that can make those catches. But he's kind of getting himself open probably a little bit more than what you would expect for a guy with that size, as far as being able to technique, use his hands, stick his foot in the ground, create separation, and catch the ball that way. And then the big question for us was, we felt we had a guy that could play in Travis Kuntz, and then it's like, who's going to be the next guy? Who's going to be the number 2? Who's going to be the number 3? Where are they at? And Killian has done a tremendous job of kind of reshaping his body to give that. I mean, he's got his chance there to compete and everything, and he's doing a really nice job. Lloyd, the new guy we brought in from the junior college, that was a little bit of it's a little bit of Christmas present. We'd never seen him in person before he came. With the not being able to have an official visit and not being able to go out and see them in the spring. So it was kind of you recruited a guy sight unseen, which that's not the norm, or that's not how you normally do it. But he showed up and he's doing a nice job. And as we've been through these and having those kind of OTA things, or those walkthroughs we had for the first 9 practices or 9 workouts, he looks more settled in. It looks like he's been through a spring ball as far as knowing what he's doing and being able to go out, and he gets every day you get better and better, and you feel more comfortable with him. And then John Holcomb's probably been the surprise of the group, because, I mean, you bring a guy in from Wellington that kind of played offense, played defense, played on special teams, track. I mean, not much you watched on high school video. You're sitting there going, that's what he's going to be doing in college for us. But he's transitioned extremely well, so that's been good. And then Simon's coming along and everything. He kind of had a little soft tissue deal toward the end of the summer workouts, but he's getting over that, and he's kind of getting back into reps. So we have good competition. We've really got about 4 guys now kind of really competing to see who's going to be 2 and 3, which competition is the best thing we can do for motivation. I mean, we're going to be better at those spots at number 2 and 3 this year, because we have more guys that really are competing for that playing time.
You mentioned recruiting Lloyd there, but in general, how's recruiting kind of changed? I know Coach Patterson said some more Zoom meetings and for more virtual things. How do you kind of approach that recruiting-wise?
Well, you kind of want to keep it as kind of the way we've always done it as far as how you evaluate guys. Probably have gotten more face-to-face communication with guys, because the kids are just so accustomed and easy now with Zoom and FaceTime that you do that. I mean, it used to be, it was a lot of texting and a lot more just phone calls. Now kids will be, I mean, they FaceTime you, which that wasn't the norm. I mean, there's not a lot of 17, 18-year-olds that want to FaceTime with me. I mean, they'd rather, I mean, there's a lot in that way, but they'd text with you and you call them and talk to them. But and with all the recruits, it's kind of like, if you FaceTime them, they answer and they're ready to talk, and they're kind of good with it. I mean, they still have some of the same habits, you see, where we get to see the ceiling a lot more than we see their face, because they don't want to be seen on their camera in that way. And also the NCAA kind of opening it up. So, I mean, we went from having 1 phone call kind of in that April-May time period to now we're kind of unlimited in making contact with them. So we've been able to kind of do that, and kids kind of like it. So I think it's been good that way. And then, I mean, hopefully, and we've got a long way to go to finish this recruiting class and everything, but now what we missed out on was those camps in the summer where you kind of got another evaluation to kind of help make some decisions on some guys. That's been kind of put on pause. So that's the only thing we kind of feel like we've kind of missed out on, because you want to do all the kind of groundwork and all the defining stuff to make sure you're making good decisions. And when you look at kind of what we did last year and the guys we've signed and when they've shown up here, we're so happy with those guys. I mean, you're looking at that going, we'd sign that class again if we could, which is what you want. And then you want to do is you want to make sure you're kind of crossing the T's, dotting the I's, that you can do that, so you don't make mistakes. Because recruiting is not always about getting the best player, the number one player, all those things. It's about the guys you do get, and can they help you? Can they play? Because mistakes are a bigger deal in recruiting than just hitting on good guys.
Go to Don Wales.
Hey, David, I have a question about a year two in the system improvement. From your experience at other schools in years past, how much improvement do you normally see in a guy's ability to run your offense from year one to year two, and what is your expectation for what kind of pop you could get in that regard this year with these guys?
Well, it's kind of a big one. Don, I was expecting a lot longer hair with all the inability to get haircuts. I thought we'd have the same haircut going by now.
I went to Walmart and got my own clothes.
Oh.
I've cut my hair like 4 or 5 times now.
Oh, no. Don, you should have hair like me. Come on. But no, it's just, the second year it popped at Utah State, and I've been around that. The second year, I know when I was at Washington State with Coach Leach is when we kind of made a big turn. And what you see is, you're still coaching them all, but they have experiences to fall back on. And we look like a totally different team. And, we lost some really talented players from last year on offense. When you lose those 2 tackles that we lost in Steele and Ruffy, those are hard guys to replace. And RJ and DT and some of the guys that we lost, we had some talented seniors on that team last year. And now you're sitting there going, well, who we're plugging in? And as you're going through it, some of the guys that maybe a year ago you're sitting there going, yeah, if that guy plays for us, we're going to be in trouble. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, that guy's developed himself into a guy that he's going to play for us. So some of those have been really, really pleasant and good surprises in that way. And we have more competitive depth right now that kind of push things. And then I think the recruits we brought in have been able to kind of add to that. And that's what you're always trying to do, is you develop the guys you got and you recruit more good players is the plan. But no, it's just we're faster. The kids are in their communication, their knowledge of stuff. We've had 3 practices so far. We've had close to 270 snaps of football, from team periods to 7-on-7 to inside run type activities. And I think right now we're at 23 mental errors on all those, and that's 11 guys or close to 11 guys on a play. So there's been a lot of opportunities to screw things up that we haven't. So that's just a huge improvement that way, because it gives you a chance, and we're getting better and better at who we are and what we are. And I think I have a pretty good idea, and our coaches have done a good job with who are we? What are the best things that Travis Kuntz does? What's the best things that EZ can do? Sir Roderick, is it zone? Is it gap scheme? Is he better at this, better at that? Him out of the backfield, how can we accentuate that even more with how he catches the ball and how he can run in space? And then the guys we've been able to add kind of behind those guys to put pressure on them and everything. So it's been really kind of fun to see these guys, and I couldn't wait till, after all the meetings and everything, I couldn't wait to kind of go out there and play football. Now it's kind of, I can't wait till we get full pads on and get out and see kind of where we're at up front, where we at with our running backs, where we at with our tight ends and that, and how's the run game progressed. Because I think our passing game with Allen being back, but also the time under his belt and those receivers kind of getting more accustomed to him. You can see some strides in practice where we're getting the ball down the field at a better rate, which is what your expectation is. And truthfully, I think, and Coach Patterson's done a great job, because they got 11 dudes flying around on defense right now and everything. So it just looks like a different football team than a year ago on both sides of the ball, just in practice with the tempo, the speed, and just the kind of confidence.
Also, regarding the running backs, since that position is not as thin as it was a few months ago, if Townsend and Brooks and Xavier White are able to pick up what you're doing quickly enough, how would you like the playing time, or what would would you like that rotation to look like so that you don't get Sir Roderick, beat up, having to carry 25 times again?
Well, it's kind of fallen one of two directions is what we've always, if you ever have a lead back, a number one guy that's just better than the other guys, or he's just special in that way. And I've been places before where we had a one. I mean, you truly have a one. A lot of times you kind of have, you'd say 1A, 1B, but a lot of times what you have multiple twos. And then you kind of get into more of a split rotation or that. But it'll be interesting to see if Sir Roger kind of sets himself up that, hey, he needs to play 60, 70% of the snaps, and then the other guys are kind of fighting for that 30 or 40%, or is it we've got two? I mean, our last year at Utah State, we had guys that basically went 50-50. The year before that at Utah State, we had a kid who was a senior, and he probably played 65, 70% of the time, and he was the guy who was in there, and then we had guys that kind of spelled him in that way. So it's really one of those two ways. So Roderick has shown to kind of be he can be a lead back the way he played at the end of the season last year in that Baylor game, the K-State game, and that you kind of have that confidence that if we need to lean on him heavily because, as you said, thin. I mean, you're watching those spring cut-ups. I mean, it was Sir Roderick and, I mean, a bunch of guys that right now that aren't getting a lot of reps in practice because the new guys, Xavier White wasn't going through spring, Townsend wasn't here yet, and Taj Brooks was finishing up high school. And all of a sudden, now those guys are your 2s, 3s, and 4s, and they're doing a great job. And you kind of see it, and if you ask Sir Roderick, he'd tell you that those guys are good football players. So we're getting the best version of Sir Roderick right now, too, in practice because he wants to make sure he stays on top of that depth chart, and that's a deal. But no, in a perfect world, you'd like to have if you have a guy that's a one that is definitely better, he separates himself in that way if he's playing 60% of the time. And a lot of times what he is he starts to drive if he needs a break within the drive, and then you want him back in when you kind of get down to that red zone area in that way. That's good. And if it turns out one of these other guys is good enough or puts the pressure on them that they can be kind of they start every other drive or they start one out of every 3 drives, it'll be a good change-up or a good challenge and that. But we've got good competition. We're going to be you feel really good about that position. Watching them in practice, feel really good that we're going to be good at that position however it falls.
All right, we're going to wrap up with, see Phil Mayer's hand just go up. We're going to wrap up with him.
Coach, can you hear me?
Yes.
So with all the precautions that you guys have put in due to COVID-19, what's been sort of the biggest challenge or adjustment that you've had to make?
I mean, wearing a mask at practice is not any fun at all for anybody, players or coaches, trying to kind of coach through it and everything, but it's part of the necessary evil, so you kind of do it. I've gotten tested multiple times. That's probably the most painful or worst thing that I've gone through before in that way. I mean, I guess my nasal cavities aren't as easy to get. Shoving a pencil through them is as much fun as you think it is in that way. But no, it's, I mean, the Zoom meetings, you kind of have to adjust to it. I mean, having all those Zoom meetings, and I'm lucky. I coach the quarterbacks. I mean, I have got a smaller number. I can put them all on the screen and make sure I see them and everything. And when the video turns off, I can say, hey, Alan, why is your video off? And he's like, well, I'm going to the bathroom. Okay, leave it off. Thanks. That way. So, I mean, whereas other positions are different. And that, so I've been lucky that way, and I got a good group of kids, and there's competition there, and we've been able to add some guys in that room that put a lot of time in that way. But no, it's probably just the how practice kind of runs in that way. Our people have done a tremendous job. I mean, you drink out of a water bottle, and that water bottle goes over to get cleaned as soon as you're done drinking out of it. I mean, we're constantly on the kind of the mask patrol. A guy doesn't have his mask up. I mean, you got all the stuff now on the face masks to kind of help the kids that way. But now our kids have done a really kind of good job, and they've kind of taken responsibility for it. And we tell them, you're part of the reason why if and when we get to play, it's because of what you've done and how you've put yourself in that position. And if we're not responsible for it, we could cause the season not to happen. And nobody I've talked to, none of the players I've talked to want that. They want to play and they want to have the opportunity to go do it, but they understand there's a certain responsibility that we all take in trying to make sure that can work. But no, the mask is probably the biggest pain in that way, and we try to find them. We got the plastic shields over your face and everything, and then, yeah, and some of us spit a little too much when we talk, so they get all crusty and nasty that way. Or, I mean, these masks, my ears are going to stick out. Luckily, I have long hair, so my ears can't stick out in that way. So Coach Farmer's stick out already, so he's okay. It's easier for him. So no, it's just kind of probably the mask have been the biggest thing for our kids. I mean, I think putting on doing the hand wipes and all that stuff as often as we do, it's just part of what it's probably good and it's something you're doing anyway. So nope, that's about all right now.
Don said he had one quick one for you.
Okay, Don, what do you got?
Hey, I said I have two quick ones, Matt. Some offensive line questions real quick. You don't have to go real in depth on these, but center and offensive guard are three interior spots. We know about Weston Wright, Jack Anderson, Dawson Deaton, but in terms of depth, who is showing you the best at those inside spots?
Well, those three guys have been tremendous. I mean, it's a really nice. Those three leading that group right now has been really, really good. And then the other guys inside, like Will Farah, has done a tremendous job of kind of reshaping his body some and is able to really play all three of the spots. Another thing that we've been really working on and has been good is Jack Anderson's been kind of snapping the ball. We bounce him. Every period, Coach Farmer will just all of a sudden have Jack and Dawson switch. So Dawson, so we can see if Jack could Jack be the number 2 center if that's the case, because you're always trying to figure out who's your backup center, who's your third center, because that's such a different position than playing the guards and tackles. They've done a real good job. Ethan Card, the junior college kid we brought in, he's been working at tackle, but he's also got a good amount of guard work just to kind of cross-train him to kind of help figure that out, and he looks good doing that inside that way. And then we bounced a lot of our tackles. And what we do in recruiting, we primarily recruit tackles, and then we kind of figure out who's going to play guard and who's going to play center from those groups. So even Caleb Rogers has played right tackle and right guard. Berger has really been only at tackle for us right now, our grad transfer kid. Bradshaw has moved inside some and played some guard and has done that. Casey Verhulst has done some guard work. So we're going to be pretty good there, I think, when it's all kind of shakes out here as we figure out the tackle depth in that. Landon Peterson's done a little bit of guard, but he's done a really nice job at tackle right now. So, no, it's our tackle depth. It's funny. I mean, when we were in spring football, that was kind of what we were worried about, and really what with those guys we lost from last year. And now you're kind of like, well, we're going to be young there, we're going to be inexperienced there, but we're talented there, and these kids are doing a nice job with it. So we're going to have to live with some mistakes, but probably not as many as you kind of expect for the kind of the group we've got.
So how do you reckon left tackle right now? Who's got the most reps? With the ones at left tackle?
Oh, probably the most up to this through the first 3 days would be Zach Adams might be slightly ahead, but it's really been Adams, Berger with the ones and kind of with the twos, and then Card has gotten a decent amount of reps with the twos at left tackle. So those three guys have kind of been at the left tackle spot. We moved Landon's over with Casey and Rogers kind of manning up the right tackle spot, and then I think we talked about one more day of that, and then we're probably just going to take the tackles and flip them to see if how's that go, because we're still, with the amount of practice we lost in spring, this is kind of where you'd like to be doing that stuff in the spring. We're going to do it now to kind of see should Berger and those guys be on the right side, should Landon and those guys be on the left side. So we're kind of mixing that a little bit, but there's a lot of carryover and a lot of crossover, and if anybody kind of matches, but the bottom line is, and we've told them, is the 5 best O-linemen are going to play. So if 4 of them play, 3 of them are guards, one's a center and one's a tackle, well, there's a guard that's going to have to go play tackle. And they understand that we're going to play our 5 best guys, so it's just a matter of kind of putting that all together. But no, our tackle depth is definitely improved and increased to the point where it's like, I think we're going to be pretty good there. Not as experienced as what we were last year or that, but we're going to have guys that we think can get the job done and are doing a nice job of doing it Coach Farmer's way.